Hey guys, I'm Clarke, and today I'm looking at what I think might be one of the most versatile but ultimately usable overdrive pedals on the market currently, and that is the Strymon Riverside. Before I get into it though, please make sure you like and subscribe. When I reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away a fuzz pedal that was used on the recording of the last Brave Rival album. Okay, so the Strymon Riverside, it's not only incredibly versatile, but I find it incredibly easy to use. I find a lot of pedals on the market, while they are incredibly versatile, they can be quite hard to dial in. The Riverside, however, is pretty familiar. We have a gain and a volume, a 3-band EQ, and just 2 toggle switches. Pretty simple. The fact that it has the favorite switch obviously also means you can recall your favorite preset. So you can have one dialed in here, one saved to the preset, and you've essentially got 2 different overdrives in one. If you want to go into the MIDI realm, I believe you can have like 128 different presets or something, but we're not going to worry about that today. Today, we're focusing on the sound. Now, the reason I originally bought the Riverside was to be my new main overdrive on my board, and it has been that for some time. I tried so many overdrives. My kind of only preconceived idea of what I wanted was I wanted to have a 3-band EQ and capable of quite a bit of gain. I tried virtually every 3-band EQ overdrive that Anderton's had in stock at the time, and ultimately I found this was able to get pretty close, nearly identical to all my favorites that I found. So I was like, well, why not just have this one? So ever since doing that, I've wondered whether this can actually emulate any overdrive pedal. I don't know yet. So I've got 3 very popular overdrive circuits here that I'm going to see how close I can get with the Riverside. Now, I'm going to get ahead of the comment section. I've noticed sometimes there are some differences in how it sounds to me in the room and what comes across. Bear in mind that where your ears are in relation to the speakers, or if you're wearing headphones, all those things are going to affect the sound. So you may notice things that I don't, and I may notice things that you don't, but that's just the nature of sound. But enough waffling, let's get into the first one. Okay, first up, the Fulltone OCD. So I've dialed in a sound that I quite like. Sounds like this. Typically nice and dense, thick, saturated overdrive. So let's see how close I can get on the Riverside. So the first thing I want to note is the left-hand switch is how much gain there is. You've got a low setting and a high setting, and then you've got the push switch, which is normal, and a mid-pushed. Now the mid-push, from my experience, doesn't just boost the mids, it also just makes it thicker and more saturated. So I'm going to go ahead and say that, well, I'm going to start on the mid-push setting and the high gain setting. Okay, bit quiet and a little bit too much gain, I would say. Okay, the Riverside's also more low midsy, so I'm going to try dialing lows down a bit and the mids up a bit. I actually think the mid push was the wrong call, so I'm going to try going down to the normal push, see if that helps. Okay, it's not spot on, but I think it's pretty close. So starting off with the OCD. And then the Riverside. So it's obviously not spot on, but I think it did a pretty good impression of the OCD. It's just that kind of thick, low mid range that the OCD has that I can't quite get out of the Riverside. Maybe if I tweaked for a little while longer, I could get there, but I think that's about as close as I'm gonna get. Okay, something at the other end of the spectrum, the Ibanez Tube Screamer Mini. So once again, I've dialed in something that I quite like the sound of. It sounds like this. Typically honky and mid-rangey. Let's try with the Riverside. I'm going to go for the low gain setting, but I'm going to keep it on the mid-push, because if you don't use a mid-push for a tube screamer, I don't know what you use it for. Okay, once again, I think that's about as close as I'm going to get. The fundamental limitation I'm finding here is the mid-range frequency. So with the OCD, that low mids, I couldn't dial in because the mids control on the Riverside simply wasn't in that range. The Tube Screamer similarly has obviously a pronounced mid-push, but it's in a different place than the mid-push on the Riverside. That's not bad, considering this is, I would say, an amp in a box style pedal, and this is not an amp in a box style pedal. That's not bad. That's closer than I thought I was going to get. I put the Tube Screamer in this because I thought that might be what tripped it up. Definitely some differences. I think I've still got the gain a little bit high on the Riverside. And yeah, that mids is not quite in the right place. But if you were using it in a live environment, I reckon that's pretty much close enough. Don't know, maybe Stevie Ray Vaughan would disagree with me. Okay, last up is the Boss BD2 Blues Driver. So for this one, I'm going to go on the neck pickup and get something like this. I honestly have no idea where to start on the Riverside, so I'm just going to get stuck in. That came together really, really easily. I think I'm pretty much there. This is one of those weird situations, because obviously the Riverside is digital and the other pedals I've been using are analog. It's one of those weird things I think Lee Anderson talked about quite a lot, is where emulations sound more like the thing than the thing does. I don't know if that makes any sense. So weirdly, the sound I'm getting out of the Riverside is more what I would expect a blues driver to sound like. It's smoother, it's tamer than, well, the actual blues driver. Not bad, but again, not quite spot on. Okay, so what are my conclusions of this? Because this was a genuine experiment live on camera. I didn't test this out ahead of time, figured out how it was going to go, and then did the video. This was genuinely completely blind. This was purely based on what must be maybe a year and a half ago in Anderton's, trying out the Riverside alongside other things. So there's a few possibilities here, I think. The first one is, because I'm using mixing monitors, I'm hearing a lot more differences than you would if you played through a real amp. Again, maybe that's a limitation of the fact that I'm modeling today. Because in the room, cranked with a Victory V40 as my pedal platform amp, I was able to emulate things like the Angry Charlie from JHS and a multitude of 3-band EQ overdrive pedals. And in the room, they sound identical. Now, is that a case of in the room, every overdrive sounds the same if you crank it loud enough? Perhaps. The other thing that I'm thinking is that, like I just said on the Blues Driver one, is the Riverside just a better sounding version of all of them? Now, I do this for better because obviously better is subjective. I think I would say I preferred the tone I got out of the Riverside than the original pedal for all three, but that is, of course, purely subjective. You might be screaming at your computer right now going, what on earth you want about, Ed? The Riverside didn't sound anywhere near as good as all three of those. I don't know. That's personal taste. But it was interesting to see that I could get reasonably close, and I think close enough for a live environment that the Riverside would be perfectly usable for any of them. I don't think it's close enough that I'm going to remove all other overdrives from my pedal boards, but I think it's brilliant for what I've been using it for, which is I want to make this kind of sound. I can dial that in really, really quickly. I want to save my preset to be a cleaner sound for the softer stuff. I can dial that in really, really quickly. It's kind of hard to make it make a bad sound, and you can get all these flavors of overdrive. Maybe this was a complete waste of time, I don't know, but nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button, make sure you subscribed and got the bell icon ticked to be notified of new videos. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next time.